What could be Ambazonia's optimal path in wartime geopolitics? There are those who think we should sympathize with Hamas, and there are others who think if we dare that, it's a mistake. Cameroon is partnering with Russia. At the same time, France the other day was calling out Israel and telling Israel to stop killing babies and women or attacking hospitals. But the same France is directly sponsoring the genocide in Ambazonia where babies are fried in palm oil, quadrillions of palm oil. So it's a complex waters to swim. I want to start with you, Barrister Pesa, please.
Well, you see, when you bring in so many different wars, we get into complexes that we cannot analyze here. Every war has its own specificities. Why the war? You see, there's not, when you hear Hamas is not a country. Hamas is a political grouping ruling the Gaza. The Gaza is part of Palestine. So, as Mr. Gandhi rightly put it there, it is agreed internationally that countries are not going to alter their borders by war. That is frowned at from east to west and in Africa as well. That's the reason for Article 4B of the Charter. You should maintain your borders as they are. Yes, we can call Hamas terrorist group. We can call them anything we want. But those who don't know, Hamas is actually the creation of Israel and the United States. Hamas won the elections. They insisted they wanted elections in the Palestinian occupied territories because the PLO was winning every election. That's why Hamas was formed as a political party, and they won the elections in that part of the Palestine. And so, like you do not, again, as every war has its own reasons. When you hear France breaking away from their traditional allies, the United States, calling on Israel to stop killing people, to stop doing all this and that. The Israel people have told them that, I'm not going to say it. Israel will never have peace until there's a Palestinian state. Israel, as far as this thing is concerned, like Ambazonia, the Israelis are the occupiers of the Palestinian state. When Israel was formed in 1947, they had their own defined boundaries, which are still there. But in 1967, 20 years after that, in the 7-Day War, they captured territories from Palestine, which they are illegally occupying. They don't even call it a territory, they call it occupied territories. They build their houses there, they chase away the Palestinians from there. That is not different from us. So until they know this truth, I've had the opportunity to say this before. Israel has bombed the hospital, yes. They have killed so many Palestinians, yes. But they did not kill those Palestinians, they did not go free. If they killed 10,000 Palestinians, they lost at least 2,000 Israelis. As far as the Jews are concerned, the worst thing you can do to a Jew, who are called Israelites, is to kill one of them. The Israelites value their lives. So one of them to die for a cause is too much. And that's where we get into the complex of strategic thinking, strategic alliances. The Americans are caught between the hard rock and the truth. I support Israel. Everybody should support Israel, provided Israel you abide by the international law of keeping to your own borders. Everybody will support Russia or Ukraine, provided they keep to your own country, keep to your own boundaries that are recognized internationally. Once you go beyond those boundaries, you are a criminal. You are violating international law. And so no matter your feelings, you will come to that reality. I don't know how many of us are old enough. When we were in primary school, there used to be something they call the Oxford English Reader. It started from book 1 to book 6, which is standard 6. I think it was in book 5. There was a character there, Sherlock the moneylender. There was a moneylender there called Sherlock. It was a Jew. And if you heard this expression of a pound of flesh, he had lent money to somebody and say, okay, I don't care in interest. Just take the money. But if you don't pay it, you give me just a pound of your flesh. The man took it like they took the money, he didn't pay. He came back late. This was the shallow guy was the character was depicting. Is I said, look, well, you have defaulted. I'm not taking my money anymore. I only want your pound of flesh. They went to court because well, you promised to give a pound of flesh. Shallow, where do you want to take a pound of flesh? He was sharpening his cutlass, his knife. I will cut it from nearest his heart so the man might die. That was a Sherlock. That was a Jew. But he lost the case. Why? Because the court was say, okay, take a pound of flesh, but there will no drop of blood. Because the contract did not say that the guy will lose a drop of blood. So in any case, back to we have to be very, very strategic and be careful what we say. I say this not as ambassador, I say this as American. I have the right to criticize the American government for what they do wrong. I've seen some senior American State Department officials resigning because of the mayhem Israel has caused on Hamas. Yeah, a rocket came from there. But until you address the root causes of the problem, like Ambazonia, until you address the root causes of the problem, which is the occupation of Palestine, the right, the exercise of Israel of a right beyond their own boundaries recognized by law. Until you address that issue, if the war stops today, we'll start tomorrow, we'll start next year. It has been going on and on and on. And until you address the root causes of the problem, you are not going to find a solution with the Palestine, call it Hamas, Israel issue. Yes, if we go to the State Department as Ambazonian, we pontificate our case. But let us leave their case with Palestine, Hamas, and Israel there. We cannot quote it before the American State Department. They don't listen to us. But that does not mean that they are doing the right thing. They are just doing the wrong thing. They are not fighting Ukraine because Israel because Russia did something so much. Russia annexed Crimea 4 or 5 years ago. The Americans did nothing. They did nothing. They kept quiet. Maybe, I don't know why, but maybe because the Russians used a different pretext. They organized a referendum in Crimea. We don't want to go to Ukraine, we want to join us. And the voters wanted to be us. As bad as it was, they pretended to organize a plebiscite for a referendum. But whatever is the case, as far as Ambazonia is concerned, those are unnecessary parallels that we should compare in our own struggle. No, we cannot compare ourselves to China and the other states that are fighting there. We cannot compare ourselves to Ukraine and Russia. Neither can we compare ourselves to Hamas and Israel. All United Nations resolutions have pointed out to the Middle East problem two-state solution. If there's no two-state solution, which is not going to happen right now, these allies have built on all the capture in 1967. They put up their homes there. But until you
Are
address
we
that
in the
issue,
same meeting?
until you resolve that issue, the issue between Palestine, Hamas, whatever, is not going to be resolved. So let us not compare our case to theirs. Let us say our case in the best way we can and leave those people alone. Let us leave Ukraine alone. The Americans and the West
Yeah,
are
but
not going to show they are not going to show the same revulsion, the same support they give to Ukraine to us. They are not going to show the same support they give to Israel to us. But they have some empathy. They can show something to us because we have a case genuinely founded, legally established. So if we waste our time on Ukraine, if we waste our time on Hamas, it will not take us far. That's my point.
now, Barrister Fru, before I get to
True.
you, I would like to hear from Sylvester Zama when it comes to strategic thinking, like Barrister Mbesa will put it. The question is Ambazonia charting their optimal path in a wartime geopolitics. Who is the best person for us to be aligned with? Ambazonia's interest, we must remember, is primordial. Please, Zama, how do we comport ourselves vis-a-vis
Well,
this ongoing conflict?
if you look at how the world, the dynamics of the world, where the currents flow, you realize that there's been no colonized people who have gained their independence going back to the colonizer. Most people who have been liberated have looked east, not west. You can name any country that has fought the war of liberation. It's never been fought, or it's never been granted looking westward. It's always been east. The Eastern Europeans have never really had no colonies, so they are a fair arbiter in those situations. They are good supporters, but given our orientation, we have to be fair and balanced, um, because both poles are in continuous control of the world. We have to understand our dynamics and put more pressure on uh, those issues and consequences that we can bear. Because comparing ourselves with what the Israelis are doing, and it's repugnant in all standard, and um, it's just like the Americans did when they threw a bomb in Nagasaki and Hiroshima because of the Pearl Harbor bomb, sinking of the Pearl Harbor, a boat in the Pearl Harbor. But this is real life. The whole world is seeing how a genocide is being committed at the highest level, and it's in real time. Um, if the world doesn't speak in one voice, I don't know where if anything else will change. Other people are going to copy this and they're going to do it. I don't see La Republique may say yes, or they are doing it. I think we should do it. They've done it. They've done it before. They've hazed out 600 villages. They've burnt kids in incubators. They've done everything that the state of Israel has done. But we are still 8 years in that fight, and it's in more and more. It's an ignore case of war of extermination. Um, a war of attrition that La Republic is going around and doing. But it's common that the Europeans, especially the Western Europeans, don't come to your aid until you're about to fall. They did the same thing with Mandela. Before apartheid, the Americans were the last people to close anything dealing in South Africa. The British were the same. The French were the same. Uh, the West has never really been an advocate for people to liberate themselves. They are the ones who have dominated these countries all around the globe, and they don't have no interest to liberate them. So we have to have a balanced eye. We have to look east and west, and if we can get it from the east, good. I hear there's a Russian saying that if you wait, you ask something from God and He doesn't give you, and it's taking too much time, the devil can give it to you, but you have to have the consequences. We will have to deal with that. And I think we must keep our options pretty open and keep our card as close to the vest as possible in these matters. What is going on in Israel is in that community is hell for both Jews and Arabs. What's going on in Ukraine is both hell. You're facing the gun battle every single day, and these are bombs, 20-ton bombs, uh, 10-ton bombs. Yeah, it's a catastrophe for humanity. And whatever the case, we are the same in that category. We are humans that have been cut and burned and diced at the mercy, and nobody is looking at us. But we have ourselves to. I've said this several times on this show. There's no Salvation Army coming from Ambazonia. We are own Salvation Army. Our citizens, our children from Ambazonia that are far flung in different parts of the world can keep our citizens safe by providing what they need to keep our citizens back home, our parents, our mothers, and sisters, and children safe. And I think if we look at it from that standpoint, what the Americans are doing with taxpayers' money is what Ambazonians could be doing with their own money. Because I'm a taxpayer here. They're giving all these billions away. I'll have to pay for taxes. They are trying to cut Social Security and do other stuff because American fiscal policy is in the drain. They owe a lot of money, and the economy is not going to be going as it is. The dollarization going on around the world, America is going to lose a lot of money. So they don't have that strength again to They are still a formidable force, but they don't have that largesse anymore. And eventually it will come crashing. Like every empire, there's a rise and there's a fall. America has reached the apex or the crescendo. It's beginning to go down. If you look at it, not only from the financial and the moral aspect of it, America is going down the drain quick.
Hmm.
Yeah, your opinion is taken into consideration. But Stafru, before you make a comment, we're receiving reports that there's shooting somewhere in the there's shooting going on somewhere in Bamena right now, and that in fact there's crossfire between the Ambazonian Restoration Forces and and the colonial talks. So your advice for those of you who find yourself around the city of Bamenda to stay indoors. Um, Before we continue, I want us to flash back to something very interesting that Barrister Ghana
Hmm.
said yesterday. So I can give you the cue to speak.
No, no, wait.
He,
Can I comment
you
first?
speak on this. Yeah, you comment. I want your comment to fit in this so that we can conclude on that and move into the next phase. Barrister Ghana said something. I might not quote him word verbatim, but he said, after analyzing the different wars, he said strategically, which is what is the main. I thought it was imperative for us to hear out what they said yesterday because it's very important for Ambazonians to understand and for policymakers during this wartime in Ambazonia to also understand. He said it is important for Palestine to be disarmed. Japan was disarmed, and that based on strategic interest, it will be wise for Ambazonia to lean towards the United States of America at this time. And the president has also shared the same concerns. The explanations yesterday were elaborate. I'm encouraging those who did not watch that show to make sure after this program you can also go and watch it. And we will be streaming it again. After this broadcast, we'll be streaming it in the home front. The feedback we're getting is tremendous. Now, Barrister Fro, I want you to come in.
Okay.
Ambazonia's optimal path in wartime geopolitics. Should we
Okay.
emotional or should we be strategic? Please.
Yes. Uh, I like to start by quoting Barrister Ghana. We should tread with caution.
Yeah.
And I also agree with him that if we have to survive, we should stick by the geopolitical stand of the United States. The world is organized in strategic geopolitical interest. Israel, which was founded in 1948, is a Zionist state. A Zionist state that grew up from the Bible. In the biblical days, you had Palestine, and they talked of the Israelis being the chosen people of God. So, like I said, Israel is a Zionist state, and the Judeo-Christians around the world constitute the global Zionism. I will explain later. For this war between what you call Hamas and Israel, the the global Zionism is losing the public war, the public relations war, and they are winning the real war by annihilating Palestine. I will not go to the extent of saying that Palestine should be disarmed. By no means. These are people who are fighting for their freedom, just like we are. They have fought for their freedom since 1948 till today. But I will go with the premise that what we have in hand and what we're dealing with geopolitically and diplomatically is the United States, and we must toe the line of the official position of the United States government. And therefore, we should stay out of this fight. We should stay, like I said last time, like I proposed last time, we are better off not taking a position on this conflict between Israel and Palestine.
But
Public relations.
I'm not cutting you short. I just want to add to something you have said so that you can continue. Dr. Patience has just commented. I'm asking Ambazonians watching us, make your contribution so that we can know your emotion, and so that it can also help the algorithms that we are speaking to understand that
I'm going to lose my train of thought.
this thing is important. Dr. Patience just said something. He says, so far, only the US has shown support for Ambazonia. Resolution.
Yes, that's correct. 100% correct.
Yeah, go ahead. No, I just wanted to add to what
That's 100% correct. And at the stage at which we are, like I said last time, we should trade with caution and stay close to the United States position without any further discussion on this matter. Why? Because I hear people say we have people who have had independence have now looked to the east for salvation. But we don't have independence yet. Even on the African continent, nobody is talking about us. In the east, nobody is talking about us. But we are here in the United States, a government in exile, and being respected as such, being treated as such. It would be suicidal to think that we can openly go against the position of the US government on this matter. Granted, we are freedom fighters, but we have to stay cautious. We have to trade with caution. Like Ghana said, trade with caution. But I will not go to the extent of calling for the disarming of Palestine. But we must support the position of the United States to get what we want. And you must not forget the geopolitical war. If anybody neglects that we are geopolitically and economically well placed in this world, you should ask somebody in the State Department. The Gulf of Guinea remains one of the most convoted area of the world. And we are sitting right in the Gulf of Guinea. Geopolitically, we are more important than some of these people that are fighting today. And that's geopolitics. And if the West, particularly the leader of the West, the United States, has taken interest in what we are doing, it is positioning itself based on the geopolitical interest that Ghana talked about. We have to be very, very careful and stay where we are and stay with the United States position and make no further comments, and let's see where we end up. We're not yet, we have had independence, but we don't have sovereignty. Therefore, we cannot trade, we cannot do things that countries that have their sovereignty are doing right now.
Yeah, we do not have our territorial sovereignty, and we are seeking for recognition. I agree with you at least by 100%.
Yes. So I agree with Dr. Abiado, Patience Abiado, that we have to stay by the side of the United States. I listened to Ghana and he was very correct. The only thing I did not agree with him was the disarming of Palestine. And I want to say that most Judeo-Christians who are part of the global Zionism, including Israel, have been holding sermons all through these things since the 7th of October, condemning Palestine. That's the position. So this world now has been split between the global Zionism and the rest of the world. The rest of the world made out of all other religions, the Islamic, the Buddhist, the Hindus, and all whatnot. So this war between Israel and Palestine is not as simple as we think.
It is quite complex.
Genocide,
there's so much.
Genocide everywhere, anywhere is genocide everywhere. But
our
we have
strategic must be very cautious.
We must be treated with caution.